So let's talk about the gi, and particularly, is the gi dead? The reason this comes up is I saw a few videos recently where some people were making the argument that the gi is dead. And I gotta say, I was, I guess, sort of shocked to see that people would be that quick to jump to something like that, to a conclusion like that, or even an opinion like that. But at the same time, I guess the other side of me is not totally shocked. Given what we are seeing online lately, I can see why people are either A, believing that that's where we're headed as far as jiu-jitsu, or B, they're eager to head in that direction as far as jiu-jitsu. So let's talk about this. As far as the gi goes, to me, that's Brazilian jiu-jitsu. That is jiu-jitsu, okay? We put a gi on, you learn the gi grips, you learn Brazilian jiu-jitsu. As time goes on, you start, you try your hand at no gi, and then you just add it to your BJJ, which is in a gi. You got gi jiu-jitsu, BJJ, and you've got your no gi. Me personally, I do them both. I think it's important to do both. The traditions and the lineage of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu has come under fire recently with a lot of people, beyond questioning the lineage, just kind of like shunning it to an extent. Like they're so focused on this new wave, no-gi Jiu-Jitsu, that they just don't even want to acknowledge the more traditional martial arts formalities of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. And therein lies the first part of that argument, as far as people saying that no gi is taking over and gi is dying, is that they're kind of preferring to get away from the more traditional aspects of martial arts training, or even a martial arts school, and they like the more casual aspect, the locker room aspect of a no-gi mat, where there's no formalities and they just come and they hang out and they do their techniques and whatever they view their no-gi time or open mat no-gi time as. That's just one of the things that they're saying people are preferring. And then, of course, then you have just the act of rolling in itself, right? Rolling in a gi versus rolling no gi. Rolling in a gi, again, affords way more grips. To me, if you ask me, it's much more technical in the beginning. Now, of course, you're going to be on this side saying no gi is very technical, and they both are, but they both are in different ways. And there's so many more grips in gi. A lot of people just prefer not having the concerns of the kimono as far as all the extra grips, lapel grips and sleeve grips and all this stuff, and even pants grips. They just feel like those slow them down. And they just, again, it's all in what you prefer. They just have more fun doing no gi. A lot of people argue that it's just more fast paced. And in that sense, it's just more interesting. I'm not of that opinion. I believe that gi is just as interesting. I believe that it's very complex. Well, and then technique-wise, okay, I want to talk about technique for a minute between gi and no gi. So some people are saying that it's just the older guys like myself who are defending the gi because it's a way for us to slow down the strong, athletic, explosive young guys. Yeah. Absolutely, I enjoyed that aspect of the gi. But also, it's beyond that. It's understanding all the additional submissions and sweeps and the complexities of the gi grips and so forth. That's such an important aspect of jiu-jitsu. And then understanding how those techniques are different in no-gi. So that's why I still train no-gi. You still have to understand it, understand how to make those things work, or find different things that will work in no-gi. And then another aspect of the whole techniques of gi versus no gi is all the exposure online between TikTok, YouTube, all the social medias. Because of this exposure on social media platforms and whatnot, very complex, sophisticated techniques are being shown. And so people are going online and their interest is in that area and they want to get to that level so fast that they're not willing to really learn the basics first. People come into my school and seminars and they're immediately talking about leg lock games and buggy chokes and all that stuff. And I'm like, you need to learn how to even hold a position right now. You don't even know how to sweep anyone. You want to learn about heel hooks? So it's creating this impatient mentality, this desire for these super sophisticated techniques when you don't have basics. And I believe that being in a gi really helps you get to the basics faster. I believe that the gi just has to be used to fully introduce someone to the world of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. But in saying that, I'm not saying it can't be done in no gi from the start. Again, it's all in how the instruction is being presented to you, and how you are taking it and how you are enjoying it. I think, again, I was brought up in a system where you had to be in the gi before you could do no gi. So you understand basic concepts of grips and pressure and so forth. And most schools did, 5-6 days a week of Brazilian Jiu Jitsu in a gi, and then you only had like 2 days a week of no gi. On the subject of the continued rise of no gi, I think the exposure that's out there for Jiu Jitsu is primarily fueled by no gi competition. So if that's what you're seeing, and the people that are talking about it, the other influencers, that's what they're talking about, then it's easy to kind of get pulled into this smaller viewpoint that the gi is dead. If not dead, it's dying. I want to kind of address this as far as the gi dying. Listen, man, if you're watching that type of content and that is the path that you're on competition-wise, then yes, for you, the gi might be dead. It's the high competition level superstars of jiu-jitsu doing no gi and you following them and being pulled into the allure of that. And if you're on that path, if you want to be a competitor at that level, then yes, that makes sense. You're probably going to strip away your gi and only focus on that type of training. That is the path for someone like you. And another thing that's coming up as far as no gi kind of killing off the gi in jiu-jitsu are these schools that are basically going straight to no gi only. This started with Eddie Bravo creating his own system, and you got to respect what he created, but that's Eddie Bravo's thing. And now, of course, the B team kind of pushing through. Again, these are massive influencers within the space of jiu-jitsu, and they're abandoning the gi fully, not doing gi in tandem with no, like fully abandoning the gi. So it's easy to kind of, again, get caught up in believing that we're working our way away from the gi. They're working their way away from the gi. That is their choice. But I believe you're not seeing that as a whole, as far as you're not seeing that in the majority of jiu-jitsu. And through the influence of the bigger YouTube channels in the space of jiu-jitsu, and of course the superstars, the competition superstars of jiu-jitsu and all that stuff, the allure, again, the appeal to the average or new practitioner or youthful enthusiast is going to push towards what those people are talking about. And again, what seems to be more entertaining or interesting to them, which is the no-gi competition and no-gi training. But when you go do jiu-jitsu, I'm going to say the average person doing jiu-jitsu, or even the majority of jiu-jitsu practitioners, we are all still in the gi, guys. Now, like my academy, I think most academies have leaned more towards a 50-50 split. There are times that my personal training, I try to keep it at 50-50 between gi and no gi, but at times it's basically 60-40 as far as 60% gi, 40% no gi. But as far as the classes that I run out of my school, I've moved it more towards 50-50, 50% gi and then 50% no gi. But I think more traditional schools, there are some big schools that I cross-trained with recently, specifically train in a gi. And I felt the difference at their open mat where I was splitting my focus and then rolling against a school and competition team that exclusively trains in the gi. I got worked a little bit as far as grips and stuff that I had forgotten about. And their schools were twice as big as my school, and they're gi exclusive. And of course, you go on websites like beltchecker.com and you look at all the interest there, and you're looking at people who are training in the gi. And you have over 3 million people training jiu-jitsu. I'm telling you, I just think that it's a voice coming from a smaller group than you'd imagine, but it's the biggest voice you're hearing because the content that you're seeing that's being kind of pushed towards you is mostly no-gi type stuff. There was a comment I saw in another video that talked about how the gi was dead, and I thought it was really cool. It made a lot of sense. There was a guy who put a comment. He said he lives in Brazil and he trains jiu-jitsu, and he said in Brazil, the gi is still the primary thing that is trained, and no-gi is still only like 2 or 3 times a week. He said he felt the no-gi rise and the no-gi exuberance was primarily a U.S. thing or a Western thing. And he might be onto something there because, again, here is where it's blowing up. The American, as they say, American Jiu-Jitsu, I still don't know how I feel about that term. It's primarily like the no-gi type training. But I think it's just dangerous to assume or act as though we're going to lose the gi anytime soon. It's just not happening, guys. I mean, is the gi really dying? Come on, man. Come on. So in my humble opinion, as a black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and a school owner, the gi is nowhere near dying. The average student of Jiu-Jitsu is there to train and have a good time. Maybe they compete, but man, the majority of Jiu-Jitsu practitioners are training in a gi still. To the people who are revolutionizing new styles of jiu-jitsu as far as in no-gi, and they're creating their own systems, whatever their permissions are within their lineage and all that stuff, more power to them. I'm all about innovation. I'm all about evolution of martial arts and sports, but I'm also about tradition. I don't believe in moving things forward without recognizing what came before and respecting it and understanding it. So just be careful what you consume, okay? If you're just wanting to do jiu-jitsu, I think you should really do Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu in a gi, and then of course, try no gi as well. Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu has been on a rise for a while now, and I'm so excited to see the love and growth that I have seen over the last few years. And I can openly say that growth would not have been possible without all the exposure and the excitement around a lot of the no gi stuff that's happening, a lot of the no gi competitions, a lot of the stars that have risen. Because guys, the gi players were around for a long time, but you had to be a hardcore fan to really know who they were or even be following their careers. I believe that the no-gi type of stuff and the brashness of some of those superstars and just the way it's presented and not just at the, I guess I should say organizational level, these organizations that market these guys, but through like influencers like YouTube channels and whatnot have really brought interest to the forefront. So I'm grateful for that. But I think we need to be careful not to forget about the gi, about Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu as it pertains to the gi and what it does for your overall game. Because I'm speaking to casual practitioners, I'm speaking to martial artists, I'm not speaking to people on the competition road, the people who have like aspirations to be the next Gordon Ryan. That's not who I'm talking to. Or maybe I am, depending on your viewpoint. But if that is where you're headed, then you probably do need to consider a more direct line, which would be no-gi specifically, because that's what you're chasing. But Gordon Ryan and all these other people, they were in a gi for a long time. They became black belts in a gi. So just understand those things. And let's be careful not to dismiss, again, our history. And the things that came before that were the foundation of the things that are coming to be. Think about that. Okay, guys. So thank you for listening to me talk about this subject. Again, I just saw quite a few videos and I wanted to kind of give my 2 cents on the matter. Sorry if I was kind of all over the place. I was just trying to walk myself through how to explain my opinion on the matter. And I've stated it repeatedly, of course. I still believe that gi is crucial, and I still believe that gi is very, very much alive in jiu-jitsu. And with that, I will just end the video now, or else I'll talk for another 10 minutes. So thank you for watching the video. Of course, we appreciate the support. Please be sure to like and subscribe, and we'll see you in the next video.